to For the Record. I'm Ellie La Liberté. Well, in just 3 days, Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin will pause abortions. It comes after President Trump's package of spending cuts, which includes a provision to defund the organization. In a statement, the Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin CEO writes, quote, "Our commitment is unwavering. Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin will continue to provide the full spectrum of reproductive health care, including abortion, as soon as we are able to. In the meantime, we are pursuing every available option through courts, through operations, and through civic engagement." In response, Wisconsin's Attorney General Josh Kaul is calling for a court order to stop the law. That's after previously suing the Trump administration for blocking Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood.
We will see how the court rules on that ultimately. That'll be a legal decision from the courts. But again, there's a simple way to address this issue, which is for Congress to take action. So I encourage members of Congress in Wisconsin to address this issue to ensure that Planned Parenthood isn't left to choose between providing critical reproductive health care services or providing access to safe and legal abortion.
Now, this isn't the first time Planned Parenthood has stopped abortion services. In 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, returning abortion law to the states. In Wisconsin, that triggered a law predating the Civil War. Abortions were unavailable for 15 months. This year, the state Supreme Court decided that the law from 1894 does not ban abortion. But some are seeing the October 1st pause as a win. The president of the Wisconsin Family Action, an organization that promotes conservative Christian family values, told me he was surprised but pleased with the pause.
We don't know how long this is going to last, but our hope is that we would see Planned Parenthood completely go away from abortion. And so I think this is a great news for the unborn. I think it's a great news for families across the state. But our hope is that Planned Parenthood would decide as a result of this to no longer provide abortions in the state of Wisconsin.
But on the other side, Democratic state senator and gubernatorial candidate Kelda Roy's criticizing the Trump administration's move, releasing a statement reading in part, quote, "Having a child is one of the most personal, private decisions a person can make, and politicians have no business making those decisions for people ever." Now, surrounding states like Illinois, Minnesota, and Michigan have more accessible abortion services. And with Wisconsin's announcement, Planned Parenthood in Illinois is preparing for an influx in clients.
Together, we are preparing to face the fallout from a backdoor abortion ban implemented by the President of the United States, a ban that once again rips away care in Wisconsin, my home state. Wisconsin is where my family lives, where much of my community is, and where I myself had an abortion I desperately needed at the age of 16. This news, like so much of the news, is not just political, it is deeply personal.
This law only impacts Planned Parenthood, not other reproductive health care providers. This is also as the FDA is reviewing evidence about the safety and efficacy of the commonly used abortion drug mifepristone. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the FDA Commissioner revealed that in a letter to nearly 24 attorneys general. The letter is a driving concern among abortion advocates that the federal government may put new limits on access to medication abortion, which has been more broadly available through telehealth in recent years. And in an announcement Monday, President Trump says the FDA will be notifying physicians that taking Tylenol during pregnancy is associated with an increased risk of autism. He did not, however, bring scientific evidence with him to back up that claim. And medical experts say it's unproven. Kevin View, the makers of Tylenol, issued a statement saying that acetaminophen does not cause autism. "We strongly disagree with any suggestion otherwise and are deeply concerned with the health risks this poses to expecting mothers." And to the state capitol, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are working to make voting easier. Wednesday, Republican Representative Scott Krug and Democratic Representative Lee Snodgrass introduced an election bill package they say would allow for earlier processing of absentee ballots, increased voter education and awareness, and modernizing election infrastructure.
They want to know that the person who's voting next to them is who they say they are. They want to know that that person is eligible to vote, and they want to know who won the damn election before they go to bed. That credibility in our
Despite its bipartisan nature, the proposal has critics, particularly over drop boxes. Drop boxes have been a source of controversy in Wisconsin since the formerly conservative state Supreme Court banned their use in 2022, then reversed the ruling when its majority became liberal in 2024. Spreitzer released a statement that it reads in part, quote, "The bill introduced today by Rep. Krug continues down the path of Republicans proposing unreasonable trade-offs in an attempt to appease the most extreme members of their party. Wisconsinites deserve better than these political games and have their legislatures cater to the most extreme wings of their party." And a group of Republican lawmakers are looking to weed out what they call a THC loophole. The proposed legislation would essentially redefine what is legal hemp, a plant that's in the same family as marijuana. Now, if passed, the bill's lead author says the legislation could take hemp-based products off the market. That includes things like gummies, vapes, and drinks that can get the consumer high. But dispensary and lab owner Brooke Bartels says if passed, the legislation would handicap an entire industry.
I really want regulation. I don't want outright banning. Banning THCA outright isn't going to solve this problem. It's going to just force another black market surge.
But Representative Brill argues it's an industry that shouldn't have necessarily taken root in the first place.
This market was created because of a loophole, and that was a chance that businesses took when they opened their business.
Now, this legislation is still in the very beginning stages right now. It's just circulating for co-sponsorship. And when we come back, we sit down with the biggest name to enter the race for Wisconsin's governor, why Congressman Tom Tiffany says he's the man for the job.